And so I did this tweet about illegal voting. I said, this was the day before the election. I said, hey, so I've already used up almost all my American Social Security numbers on voting illegally, but I've got a few left. If someone is working a close race and is short, DM me and I'll hook you up. So a lot of people got a kick out of that. And once again, I put zero effort into it. I was not expecting it to cause any kind of an issue or be picked up by conservative media, because I thought, surely, like, everyone knows that I'm joking. It's just, purely like a bit that I'm doing at this point. But lo and behold, later that night, I did get alerted to the fact that it had been posted on 4chan, on the politically incorrect board on 4chan, which is really one of the worst places on the internet. And so it was posted on politically incorrect with the caption, "They aren't even hiding it anymore. Tomorrow is the start of the Civil War. Get your guns." So that's it's great that we let baby boomers start using the internet. That was a great decision on everyone's part. So that's working out really well for everybody. So here are some of the other comments that were on that 4chan thread. Just one moment here. So one person said, if he is using multiple social security numbers, it means he is voting on behalf of other idiots. Someone else, this is a really great one. Not only is the tweet real, but Jack probably knows about him, and he got to keep his Jew star checkmark. In brackets, also is probably a Jew. So that's the kind of discourse that you see on 4chan. They're always getting to the important details of each story. It always seems to circle back to that, which is interesting to me. Someone else here says, the Democratic Party in Texas has sent illegals documents urging them to vote. Citizen status box already checked. So yeah, they're pretty open about it. Though I don't think this particular thing is real. There are countless over vote fraud. So that was kind of one of the only people that was hedging a little bit. And they're doing that kind of classic thing where they say, well, now this isn't real, but it still confirms this thing that I already believe. Because there is lots of stuff like this that does happen, even though this guy is joking. One guy says, voter fraud is actually being prosecuted this year. Thank the fuck Christ. A friend of mine voted in 3 different states and has already been arrested. I don't think that's true. But okay, this individual says actual election fraud needs to be treated as a top-tier crime in the same vein as first-degree murder. We need to be executing people who do this. Okay. So it went on like this, pretty much, as you can expect. If you saw on Twitter, I posted about it. If you're curious, you can go check that out. So I thought that would probably be the end of it, because, I mean, 4chan is one thing, because there's a lot of kind of gullible weirdos and baby boomers and younger kind of conspiracy theorists who are, not socially adjusted and are kind of like weirdly addicted to anime to the point that it's kind of melted their brains. So I kind of thought it would stop there. It did not stop there. It ended up on election day getting picked up by Infowars.com, Alex Jones's famous or infamous Infowars website. Asked, are Canadians illegally voting for Beto O'Rourke? And it wasn't Alex Jones doing this, but this was by Infowars host Owen Schroyer, who actually looks exactly like the character Hans Klopek in Joe Dante's 1992 film The Burbs, which is it's kind of a niche reference, I guess, but it's a great movie. You should check out The Burbs. So I'm just going to refer to Owen as Hans from now on. So Hans did a little segment about my this tweet, and so what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to play the segment, and I'll just kind of react to it, because if you haven't, I posted about it online, but if you haven't watched the segment, it's pretty surreal and it's very funny, and let's play that right now. Just one moment.
But it doesn't even stop there. Now, I don't know what you want to think about this. This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. Now, again, I was turned on to this tweet because, again, this is some, verified Twitter leftist who's mocking Dan Crenshaw for losing his eye.
Yeah, guilty as charged there, I guess. That was another thing that happened in the run up to the election. The conservatives were losing their mind about some joke Pete Davidson from Saturday Night Live had made, mocking some Republican asshole Dan Crenshaw who had lost his eye in Afghanistan. And I don't really watch SNL. I didn't really want to stand up for Pete Davidson or whatever. But of course, conservatives were completely losing their mind over that. So I tweeted something about Dan Crenshaw just to piss people off. So guilty as charged there, I guess.
But after seeing that, I went and I looked at this sick individual a little bit more, and I found this.
I'm a sicko lib.
From Rob Russo. Now, I've never heard of this guy. He says, and he's a Canadian. He says, I've already used up almost all my American Social Security numbers on voting illegally, but I've got a few left. If someone is working a close race and is short, DM me and I'll hook you up. Now, look, I don't know if this is real or not. This could be a joke.
Who knows if
I
it's real?
went down as far as I could reading this guy's tweets to find out if this really was a joke, and he never made any implication that this was a joke. He said other such things.
No implication.
But then you go read all the comments
there's no
under
implication
this tweet, and it's people saying the same stuff. I'm Canadian. I voted for Beto. One guy says he voted for Beto 10 times.
He's actually talking there about a friend of the show, a two-time guest of the show, Michael Buchert, who was in the comments of that tweet talking about voting for Beto. So he made it on. You can't hear from this clip, by the way, but Hans here has printed out my tweet and is looking at like a printed out sheet of paper with my tweet on it, and Michael Buchert's also in there. So he kind of nailed both of us on this one, Michael. Okay, let's get back to Hans.
So, why is it that Canadians are bragging about getting involved in American elections?
That's a good question.
Now, if it was Russians, it would be a mainstream story. But since it's Canadians, I guess nobody wants to investigate it or talk about it.
That's a double standard.
But again, it just shows you how out of touch with reality people are when we say...
Yeah, it definitely does show how people are out of touch with reality. I agree. I agree, Hans. I'm with you on that one.
The Democrats are the ones engaged in all this election fraud and election meddling, and they say, no, that's the Russians. That's the Russians. And you say, wait, you're right. It was the Russians that held a Hillary Clinton parade that got publicized and promoted by CNN, and Michael Moore did a live stream from it.
So it's really the other people that are doing
Never happened to Infowars.
No.
Never happened to any Republicans.
Yeah. No, Infowars has never spread misinformation. That's absurd. No, so really, as Hans points out, there really is no difference between, foreign governments engaging in deliberate operations, influence operations online to spread misinformation, and me, what I'm doing, because I'm Canadian and I'm doing it too. So there's no difference. Well, the main difference is that there's no, powerful, shady governments or billionaires financing me to do this kind of stuff. I just do it because it's my hobby. I'm getting to the point financially where I would appreciate a foreign government or a billionaire to start hooking me up with something. But that's not, as of yet, I'm not in that kind of position yet. And I've got more to say about this, actually, and I'm going to get to make a larger point later as I just get into some more news here, because that was the end of the Infowars segment. That didn't really blow up any further after that. I was a little concerned for a while because, as we'll get into with Jordan later, the main thing that they were kind of accusing me of is voting for Beto O'Rourke in Texas. And after that Infowars segment, I did kind of start thinking to myself, if Beto wins, this could possibly turn into a little bit more of a hairy situation for me, because I could have seen any number of conservative outlets pouncing on that to kind of explain away Ted Cruz's defeat. But of course, if you were watching, and as we'll get to in a couple minutes, Beto did not win. So that was kind of the end of my crazy, most recent crazy experience with conservative media picking up on the things that I say online and turning it into content. Again, I don't know why it keeps happening now. Despite what Hans was saying, it actually is very simple to determine whether these things are a joke. It takes about 3 seconds, even if you're, for some reason, too dense to look at my Twitter profile and realize that it's a joke. You can Google me. There's a couple of things out there that might, illuminate that a little bit more. And when it comes to this, with Infowars, I think Alex Jones is kind of aware that he's doing a bit and aware that he's kind of playing a character in a way, even if maybe he's so insane that he's kind of lost himself in that character a little bit. I'm not so sure about Hans here. Maybe Hans is aware that it's a joke and he's just using it to drum up fear and to just spread conspiracy theories, because that's what Infowars is all about. But I'm not so sure. What I think actually is that Hans is extremely stupid and was trolling 4chan and found my tweet and then did a segment about it on Infowars.com. So Hans, you're not very intelligent. If you're listening to this, I would maybe look into that and try and see what you can do to not be such a massive dumbass.